Okay, it looks like we're live. This is the Policy Committee meeting on January 21st. It is 4:36 and I'm calling the meeting to order. We have Dr. Gant and Attorney Hull, who are and myself, who are the three committee members for the quorum. We have Dr. Thomas, of course, and Mr. Harris and Ms. Tillman, but we also have Dr. Watley and Mr. Pruitt. Let's see, first of all, we have to set the agenda. Did we do the agenda? Sorry, hang on. We do the, yeah, I gotta get new glasses. This is crazy. So yeah, first thing we do is approve the minutes. Sorry, I had it right on my notebook, but I didn't believe my notebook. All right, so the first thing is to approve the minutes for the 17th of December. Dr. Gant, did you have a chance to look at those? I made a few minor edits, but I think they were okay. It was kind of a chaotic meeting.
Yes, I did, but that was a meeting I didn't attend.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so I'm unable to check, I guess is what I'm saying, for like what exactly happened.
Okay, well, I think they're okay. What is the procedure if I'm the only one that was there? I mean, Mr. Harris, do you agree that those were good representative? Who else was there? It was chaos. Mr. Pruitt.
I have no voting power, but I do believe they are accurate.
That may have been I was gonna say that may have been the meeting I forgot. Tish, it was one meeting you text me and I was like, oh my Lord.
Yeah, that was the one that we sat around for half an hour until we finally had a quorum, and we weren't even sure if we were going to go forward, and then we did go forward, but it was still kind of chaotic. So, Mr.
According to Robert's rules, you're actually allowed to vote on the minutes, even if you were not at the meeting. So if other folks are willing to take Dr. Yeager and Lawrence's word for it, we can approve them.
Okay. Well, can I have a motion to approve the minutes?
Motion to approve.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay. Thank you. I would like to amend the agenda, which is our next item. Mr. Fisher is unable to attend, as is Ms. Meredith Paget. So we would like to move the e-policies, postpone them again until February, if that is okay. So that would be item 1, 2, 3, 4, removed from today's agenda.
Do you need a motion?
I think that would be fine.
Yeah.
Yeah, need a motion. Yes, we do.
So I move that we adopt the revised agenda according to what's been articulated by Dr. Yeager.
Okay, thank you. Dr. Gant?
Second.
Okay. So then we shall start with policy KA. Oh, sorry, we approved the agenda. Next thing is the superintendent's report. Sorry, I really need new glasses. I've got them ordered.
It's okay, and I'm short. I just was going to thank you for the review you sent out. I think that's very helpful for us to be able to review prior to the meetings, and will help to expedite the process as we move forward each month. So that was very helpful. So I appreciate you sending that out. And I don't have any other policy related information.
Okay, thank you. I was just going to use my report to welcome Attorney Hull, who is our new policy committee member, and also to thank Greg Davis for his great work on this committee for a number of years. I don't even know how long he's been on this committee. He was on it when I first joined. So he has stepped down in order to let some new blood come in, and I really appreciate that. I guess we'll be deciding on other members at our retreat later this month. Okay, so that's all I have. Shall we move on to the new items on the agenda? Starting with KG. So KG, KA, excuse me. KA is, so all the K policies, Mr. Lawrence, would you like to address these are the last of the K policies that went through your purview. I believe Ms. Gallagher also helped, along with I guess, was it just Ms. Gallagher that worked with you, or was Mr. Davis involved?
Both.
Both. Okay. So yeah, the three of them worked with you on the K policies, and these last four, I think, were at the end of some agenda and they kind of fell through the cracks. So we're finishing them up today. I believe KA was a review only original recommendation, and Mr. Pruitt had no legal issues that I was aware of. Is there any discussion about KA? I really need to pull up my other
Ms.
agenda.
Tillman, can you click on KA?
Did you say KA?
KA, the first one, yeah, number 5.
KA,
So
public relations goals and objectives.
You can't see it?
no, it's not. I think your screen is frozen. Actually, the YouTube channel is frozen as well. I think you may have to refresh. But I mean, I'm happy to discuss if everyone has it in front of them. I just recognize, I think your screen's frozen because it doesn't move when you move.
Yeah, why don't you just discuss it?
Okay, yeah, so KA.
This is your baby.
Right.
This is your baby, right?
KA, Ms. Beth Moore, myself, and Ms. Tillman met with Mr. Davis and Ms. Gallagher. We just recommended it as a review only. It's not necessarily, to us, it read more as a belief statement than a policy, but it does kind of iron out what the Office of Public Relations and Communications does. So ultimately, there were no needs for any changes, but it does talk about how we use media to foster partnerships and communicate with our stakeholders. So we recommended it just for review.
Great. Yeah, I don't think there was anything controversial in there, and it's a good policy. It's a, what did you call it? A philosophy statement. So, which Mr. Pruitt reminds us that we do not need to keep these sort of philosophy statements in the policy, but you decided this one was worth keeping, right?
Yes.
Okay. Do we want to do these one at a time, or shall we do all the Ks in one sweep? Those who are voting, should we make a motion to do all the Ks at once?
I'm fine with that. I've had a chance to review them, and again, your summary was very helpful with it.
Okay. So if that's fine with Dr. Gant, we'll talk about KG, which was about use of school facilities. There was a revision of this one to add or designate to, God, I'm just having trouble keeping everything straight on my screen. I'm sorry. All right, so KG, see, I got my notes all in order, but now I can't even read them. So the minor revision, but the attorney recommended that we examine the exhibit, but I don't think that's a big problem because exhibits are not in our purview. So Mr. Harris, what is the mechanism for encouraging you to work on that exhibit? Do we need to do anything as a board?
No, I mean, it's, we can recommend that we review and look it over. I did talk with Mr. Fisher about KG, and Ms. Tillman, I'll probably share my screen because I think yours is still frozen. So I'll just share mine and I'll just drive it so everybody can see the policy. His recommendation was adding designee to make sure it aligns with practice, because technically our principals oversee their school use facility. So that the exhibit is actually filled out at the school level. So an organization requests to use Clark Central High School, Dr. Huff would sign off that it's okay for that organization. So it traditionally doesn't go through superintendent or through Mr. Fisher to approve it. The principal does that. And then if it's outside that, like a gym use or summertime use, then, Dr. Thomas or Mr. Fisher would approve.
Okay, great. So that was the one revision. And then the rest was fine according to the attorney memo, as well as the reg was also fine. So the only legal comment was about the exhibit, which to work with on the team to fix, right?
That is correct, yes.
So I'm good with that. How about you, Ms. Hall or Dr. Gant?
I'm fine with that.
Okay. Dr. Gant? Okay.
I am.
Okay, great. Let's do the other KM. So this was originally a review only recommendation, but the attorney memo suggests that we should perhaps add an additional text referring to state law, providing reasonable access to parents and encouraging parent-teacher communication, which I really thought was good. The policy as it stood before didn't necessarily enhance or emphasize parent visiting schools. And I liked having a little more there to maybe encourage more parent involvement in schools. So I have suggested in my notes a paraphrased sentence that I came up with based on the attorney memo, which I put in my notes that I would recommend we add either to the top of the policy or perhaps to the top of the reg, if what you think, Mr. Harris.
I agree. And I really like that emphasis on parent and parent participation.
Do you think it should go in the policy then?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Okay. So Angela, if you've got my memo or my notes, you can paste that in.
Okay. Well, I won't do this. This is me driving right now. I was gonna do it.
Oh, okay.
I'll let Ms. Tillman do it so I don't break anything. I was gonna try it. I've never done it before, but I was gonna try it. So I'll let her do it.
I can do it from my screen. You won't be able to see me doing it, but I can do it from my screen.
Thank you.
Okay. All right. So, and then KM, the reg won't be affected. We'll just leave it alone, review only. Okay, so can I have a motion of leaving KA as review only, doing the minor revision to KG, KGR1 review only, making the recommended revision to KM, and then no review only for KM Reg 1. Is that, if I got that straight?
Hey, can you repeat that, Dr. Yeager, for me?
Yes, ma'am. We're leaving KA as a review only. We're leaving the 2 regs as review only. We're making a minor edit to KG to include the designate instead of just the Dr. Thomas. And then KM, we're adding that sentence that I wrote based on the attorney memo. So revising KG and revising KM, and the other 3 will be review only.
Okay. Ms. Hull, you want to make that motion? My short-term memory is like.
Sure. So I move that we revise KG and we revise, I think it was KM, and we review KGR1 and KMR1.
And KA.
And KA, I'm sorry. Almost.
Second.
Okay. All in favor of the K policies as recommended?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, thank you. Phew, all right, we got through 5. Thank you. Okay, so the next item is, I believe, JGC, which is the Student Health Services. So Dr. Watley, you were involved in this process. Do you want to speak to it before I say anything?
Are we on JGC?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, perfect. So our recommendation is that we add here is to have the superintendent or her designee. And I see you have that noted here. I think Mike said that he's suggesting that we delete the 3rd paragraph. And I think that's about
wait, no, so the one before that. Oh, wait, you're right. Sorry, JGC, you're right. Sorry, go ahead.
Right. No, you're fine. I'm on 2 computers, so I'm reading one stuff. My head is turning because I'm reading. Okay.
No, that's fine. Yeah, I thought being consistent with attorney memo was to either delete the paragraph entirely or put or her designee, depending on what Dr. Thomas and you thought was appropriate.
I'm gonna, I suggest put the superintendent or her designee. Dr. Thomas, what are your thoughts about that one?
Uh-oh, she might be muted.
Is she muted?
Okay, can you hear me now? I'm sorry.
Yes, we can.
Okay, yes. All right. I had a whole conversation. I'm sorry. I'm fine with superintendent or designee just because there are times when I may not be available to do it, or it just may be more appropriate at that moment for someone else to do it. So I'm okay with or designate.
Yeah, and my question was really just not who does it, but are there any such regulations? I just didn't think, we shouldn't say somebody shall do regulations if there aren't any.
Okay, so when I read over your notes, Dr. Yeager, I did wonder about that. And I don't know have there historically been, Mike, do you know?
I have no idea. I mean, there's not a reg in the policy manual, obviously.
Right,
so that's why I asked the question, is there some written guidance somewhere else that satisfies that requirement? Because if there's not, and we don't need it, then let's just take out that requirement.
Right, okay.
So to be clear, let me read the paragraph we're talking about. The superintendent shall be responsible for developing other regulations which may be necessary in combination with job descriptions to implement this program, which is the health program. These regulations shall comply with any and all rules implemented by the State Board of Education, the Department of Human Resources, or any other state agency with jurisdiction or authority over any aspects of services to be provided or which may be provided to students under the above referenced code section. I mean, so that sounds like a self-evident paragraph to me. Like, it doesn't really say anything except that we're supposed to write regulations according to what we're supposed to be doing.
Right.
And if we don't have any, or if nobody knows if we have any, my guess is it's probably because, and I think this is right, because everything that you need to address is addressed in the other JCB policies and their regs. So there's probably not any there are probably not any additional regs that need to be written under JGC itself. They're all under JGC B and D and all the others.
So I think it would be best if that is the case. I think it's best to just take it all out, because I would read that and then I would start to try to look for what other regulations this paragraph references, and there are none.
And you don't really need a direction to put a reg in. If we need a reg, we put a reg in. We don't need to tell her to put a reg in, right? I mean,
that's right.
Right, that's right. Well, we can remove that.
Okay.
Is that the entire paragraph?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
The entire third paragraph. So the bulk of the reg is, or the bulk of the policy is still there.
Right, because it still allows us to serve students through partnership agreements with the health department, other agencies, still staffing our schools with school nurses. So the bulk is still, the meaning is still there. It's just about this regulation piece.
Yeah. And I think the bulk of this is required by state law and is not waivable too, right, Mr. Pruitt? I mean, we have to have this policy. This is not optional.
That's
but this paragraph, but the paragraph seemed unnecessary.
And the details that you have to have, as I say, are in these other policies that start with JGC. So I think we're covered without any additional regs.
Okay.
Okay, great. All right. So shall we do these are pretty complicated. Maybe we should move one at a time. Let's do this one at a time. If that's all right with you guys. There's not that many. We'll get through them pretty quick. So yeah, let's do one at a time so Angela can keep track. So a motion on JGC.
So I move that we revise JGC to delete the third paragraph.
Second.
All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Great. Okay, moving on to JGCB, which is the student immunization. Dr. You did a nice fix on this one, clarifying.
Right. You guys can see we put there to add an additional edit or the certified recommendation of a licensed physician, and you can just read it to put that and include that there within this in this policy.
Okay, so you were okay with that extra sentence?
Absolutely.
Suggested. Okay, great. Thank you, Mr. Pruitt, for catching that. I didn't know about the option that the state could cancel the religious exemption if there's a pandemic. Have they been using that one at all? I guess not, because we don't have vaccines yet, but
I know I was
they could.
surprised when I saw that. I said, I thought at first that we added that. Then I said, no, that's state language. I was surprised that that was in there.
Yeah. Yeah. And actually, of course, it'll be interesting to see if the state adds the COVID vaccine to the list of required immunizations. They haven't done it yet, so we'll see.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's the hot topic. That's what I've been asked and also been wondering.
Yeah.
That'll be very interesting. Interesting conversations, I'm sure.
Yeah.
Yes.
But in any case, a licensed physician or local board of health could choose or could certify that a student cannot be vaccinated, right? That or should not be.
That's
vaccinated.
right. Yeah, the fuller language, it has to be related to a disability that creates a risk to that student, and then that's what the doctor or health department certifying. But I think that's a good summary. You know, we've covered the two exemptions there, the religious exemption and the disability exemption. Those are the only two there are.
Okay, great. So Ms. Tillman, did you see that sentence to add at the very end? Okay, great. Can we get a motion on, is there any more discussion on this one? Okay, maybe have a motion.
You sure turned out again.
Motion to make the changes that are listed here for
Second.
For policy JGCB.
Second.
Okay. All in favor? Aye.
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 Great, thank you. Okay, moving on to medication, JGC number 12.
Yeah, so I like, you know, Mike is removing, recommends deleting parts 3 and 4 as well as like the use of the term privilege. And at the end of the last paragraph, and also in the reg, the reg should have been reviewed, Mike, by Nurse Amy. She reviewed these before we sent these to you.
Good.
Yeah.
That's sort of a note to myself just to make sure.
I got you. I got you.
And the word privilege was only in the review or in the policy, right? I didn't see privilege, the comment.
Yeah, it was only in the policy. Mm-hmm.
Right. So the revision only needs to be made to the policy, and the reg is just a review only. Is that correct?
Correct.
Okay. So according to the attorney's memo, he thinks that paragraph number, well, under self-administration of medication, the part 3 and part 4 need to be completely stricken because they're illegal. And then the second half of the sentence that starts with medication shared with classmates will be confiscated. The second half of that needs to be deleted.
And I'd be interested in Amy Rourke's take on that, but my concern was just that the law just says they shall be allowed to self-administer, period. And all of this is kind of putting some conditions around that and when we might not let them do it. And I'm just afraid that might be beyond our power. Obviously, if any of those things happen, the students and parents would need to be addressed somehow, but just taking away access to the medication might not be the way you do it.
Right.
Right. And using the word privilege seems really inappropriate. It's not a privilege to give yourself life-saving medicine. I'm thinking about my little brother who was diabetic and had to give himself a shot.
Wow.
And I know there's at least one student at the high school who has to give herself shots. So, I mean, I know there's many probably, but she handles it really well. Okay, so I guess, shall we have a motion on JGCD and JGCD Reg 1? Reg 1 would be review only and JGCD would be revised as we've discussed.
So I'll move that we revise JGCD to make it comply with the recommendations from Mr. Pruitt and that we accept JGCDR1.
Second.
Okay, all in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Great. Okay. All right. The last item is LDA JA, which policy has talked about quite a few times. I think we found the solution. Mr. Harris or Ms. Dr. Watley, do you want to discuss what we've done with this one and why it was such a big deal?
Yeah, I think we've come to a conclusion that this policy is only covering the interrogation by law enforcement, and we made sure that is now clear in the policy. The other piece is, and Attorney Hull, we kind of talked about this too, making sure, and Attorney Hull, help me out here, including the parent notification as a part of that. Yeah. Like,
so there was, the way that I read it and what we discussed was there was kind of a loophole. So if an officer wasn't allowed to interrogate a child at home or in the community because the parent said no, they could come up to the school and kind of go over that parental consent piece. And so it was just kind of cleaned up to add that parental consent piece here.
Right.
That's great. That seems really important.
Yes, and that helps with some of what we were discussing when we were just talking about the school resource officer contract. These are the kinds of areas that, to me, we just have to work to clean up and tighten up in order to protect our students when they're within our buildings. And so then having this fixed in the policy, but then making sure that our school leaders are now aware of all of this is the critical next step. But I'm glad we got that added, because those are the ways, to me, that we help to protect students.
thank you, Dr. Thomas.
Yeah.
Agreed.
Yeah.
Every once in a while, I feel like we're doing something really important. I mean, some of the policy stuff seems a little noodly, but this one seems really important. So thank you for figuring that out.
Yes, great job.
Thank you.
Okay, so should we have a motion on this one?
So moved, a motion to approve the recommended changes for policy LDA-JA.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Guess what, guys? We got through our whole list.
Wow.
Like, that might be the world's fastest
wow.
policy meeting.
Such a difference from the last policy meeting.
Oh, wow.
we redeemed ourselves, Mr. Harris.
So I'm not sure if I'm not sure of how they run in the past, but Dr. Yeager, I really liked your minutes. It helped, or your notes. It really helped me go through and kind of be prepared. So if you can keep doing that, that was really helpful for me.
It was helpful for me too, Dr. Yang. I think I sent you an email just to, also help us be prepared. And we have a couple of J policies that are a little bit on the fence. So I would love to kind of have a heads up. So I would love that.
Okay, that sounds great.
Thank
I mean,
you.
part of this was because I hadn't seen Mr. Pruitt's comments, and we had talked about just review, but after the comments, it seemed really, so that step in the process, Mr. Pruitt, we really, really appreciate you for that. That's a really, really important step, and we need to make sure we have plenty of time to incorporate your comments about these policies. So,
well, I appreciate it. I'm not sure if we came to a conclusion, but you and I and Mr. Harris talked about, maybe I can do this at a little earlier point in the process in the future so that everybody has more time to incorporate it.
Yeah. So I think, Mr. Harris, do you want to talk about what's coming down the pike? What did we decide to do? We're going to do I policies next. Is that what I understand? Have you confirmed with Mr. Gaskins for next month?
Yes, so we'll have I policies in February. So those are instruction policies. And then I know Dr. Watley and Mr. Pruitt already, but we'll be revisiting the J policies in March, and then any other policies that were left over. But I mean, I'm really excited to say, y'all, we're down to like the last 16% outdated policies. I mean, this work is
That's awesome.
coming to a close, and then we'll get to a nice cadence
Right.
of the 8 to 10 policies per meeting. So it's a really good work that we've gotten done, that you have gotten done as well.
Great. Okay, so we'll
that's
look
great.
forward to hearing the plan to hear the revisions or the recommendations from Mr. Gaskins. Are we just going to have those? Are those going to go through Mr. Pruitt first before the agenda setting meeting?
Yes, we actually can get those to him probably by the end of next week, because Mr. Gaskins has been ready for a while now. So those are already done. So we can get that to Mr. Pruitt ASAP.
Yeah, because that's a big pile. That's probably what, 30 policies? It's
Close
pretty
to 40,
big.
yeah, close to 40. I think it's about 39.
Yeah. Okay. So, Mr. Pruitt, you've got the lion's share of the work for the next week or two.
That's fine. I mean, I'd much rather have them sooner than later. And like we discussed, my guess is that 90% plus of what he has is driven by state law anyway. So,
right. Okay.
Hopefully, it's not too difficult.
We had a couple that were sort of interesting discussion. Yeah, I mean, all of it was interesting, but there were a couple that is like, oh, be curious to know what the board thinks about this, particularly in the way of like curriculum and what's there, and what state required, but then also where that room is for the district to really be able to impact curriculum in a way that prioritizes equity and things like that. But for the most part, most of them were smooth sailing.
Okay, and it's great that you were involved in that discussion, so you can help us move through them with.
I can only remember about 1% of what we discussed. That stuck out to me and was most interesting. So.
Well, I have Mr. Gaskins will be here with some of his team members, so you'll have backup.
Yeah.
Okay, that sounds great. I'll look forward to that a month from now. Thank you so much, everyone. Shall we have a motion to adjourn?
Wow.
Motion to adjourn.
I know.
Second.
I feel weird. Okay. This is
I feel weird too. Like we're leaving before we need to be leaving.
I know.
Still have another hour
I
left.
off. Me too. I'm like, okay, I told my